Welcome to the Where Are We Going Now podcast, where you meet interesting and crazy people, hear their stories on how they navigated through their own life, to hopefully give you some insight on how you'd like to navigate your life. Welcome to the Where Are We Going Now podcast, episode 12. Today I'm here with Alicia Baldino. I'm your host, Anthony Amarello. Alicia is the president of Virtual Hustle. What? She's honestly one of the coolest people I've ever met. I always tell my guests where and how I met my guests. And by I tell my guests, I mean I tell my audience. I met Alicia in college, which was an embarrassing time for both of us, might I add. But ever since then, and now we're 5, 6, 7, 8, 12 years, 40. We both left college. We didn't talk to each other, not because we hated each other, but we didn't talk for years. And then we both reconnected when we got to California, which is really cool to me. So Alicia, say hi to the people.
Hi, it's good to be here.
We're glad to have you. So you're from Monroe, New York.
That I am. Monroe Woodbury School District.
I did so much research on this, such a small town. And
that's surprising. How much really could be said?
Not much. On your Wikipedia page, there are about 4 bullet points, and I have them all. Are you ready? Monroe, New York is home of Velveeta cheese. Yeah, you didn't know? It says Monroe, New York is home of Velveeta cheese, and that they have a cheese festival every year. Did you not know this? Are you from Monroe?
That is news to me, though. I got out of there as quickly as I could.
I hope I researched the right Monroe, New York. Imagine.
There's like a Monroe County that I hope we're not getting.
No. Oh, I found that out.
Okay. But you probably know more about this than I do, so continue. I'd love to hear more.
There was also notable things that happened in Monroe. In 1895, there was a big fire, and that was on your Wikipedia page.
A big fire, like a house, a building,
I think it was like $40,000 worth of damage, but it said
and
that people
is still on the page.
Yeah, and they said people took the Erie Railroad from all over to come look at the remains of the fire, and I was like, this town is. So it reminds me, reading about it, it reminds me of the town that Leave It to Beaver lived in. I feel
like that's an accurate representation.
Just like a small countryside town, which I feel like represents America really well.
Yeah, it does. And it was an okay place to grow up, but yeah, not a lot going on, that's for sure. Yeah. Nothing.
So you have a brother?
I have a brother, older brother.
Your parents. So what was it like growing up in such a small town, average American-sized family? So was it anything, wacky about it? Was it?
Honestly, no. And maybe people who live in the town and my friends might say different, but I thought it was a good, solid place to grow up. Outside the city, everyone's parents worked in the city. My dad was a NYPD, driving to the city. Everyone's parents did it. It sucked. It's like living in Orange County, commuting to LA. It could be a half an hour. Yeah. Never is,
If you leave at 3 a.m.
Yeah, for sure. If you are working, crazy hours, whatever. But no, it wasn't that, so it was definitely the country. And I guess it's a small town, but it was a lot of people because everyone lived, whoever worked in the city had to live outside the city if you wanted a family. So it was a cool place to grow up. My parents, I can't really stress it enough. I had an awesome childhood. So that I really have nothing to really say about my childhood, man. I have a brother. Yeah, he's cool. We talk. He's getting married, I think. I don't know. We're cool.
Okay. So, growing up, what did you do as a kid? Now, this is a countryside town, but you didn't live on a farm,
Right,
Your dad worked for the NYPD. Did you, play sports? Were you more of an artist? Did you sing musicals? What were you kind of into as a kid?
Yeah, so definitely snowboarding. And when I tell people that, I'm 6 feet tall, right? So when I tell people that, they're like, I just don't see it. Like volleyball,
you
basketball.
look more like a snowboard than a snowboarder.
I just don't see it. But that's really what I dedicated most of my childhood to. Honestly, we had a crew that we'd go after school. That was the coolest part about where we lived.
When did you start snowboarding?
Oh man, my parents put me on skis at 2 years old, and I was like,
What?
nope, like this is just not what I want to do.
I don't think I
You're
walked till
allowed
I
to
was
be
like
on
4.
skis at 2. We went to Smuggler's Notch, Vermont every year, and
What?
people out here are like, where is Vermont? It's one of those little states up in the northeast. Like we're both from the northeast, so we get
Yeah.
it, but it's like people from out
not
here.
from the Northeast have no idea where things are. They're like, Massachusetts, that's by Delaware,
Yeah,
right?
they're all
like,
just
wait,
up
what?
there. And I get it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get
sure.
it. But yeah, so just snowboarding really. And it was really, really cool to have that for after school and having that group of friends and that personal progression.
Did you meet these group of friends like on the mountain? Did you were you already friends with them? How did that kind of group come together?
Yeah, a lot of it was just through school and like from when we were kids. Like, so I got on a snowboard probably when I was 6, actually. I got on a snowboard at 6, but I was very much still a child. So I was going with my parents and they were skiing and I was snowboarding. I was probably the only girl on the mountain snowboarding because at that time snowboarding was still really new. And it was just, I loved the idea of being different. I think that was like the main thing, which was like, I loved snowboarding and I still love it. It's still like my ultimate passion. It keeps me like sane. And
you're really good at it. So
man, thanks. Now I'm
I
getting
watch your
old and I'm
YouTube
still
videos.
tall. Yeah, back in the day, YouTube videos. Whew. So it was a really cool way to grow up. And I love that I had that with the people that I had that with. And we just shared a lot of, struggles of like, tricks we wanted to learn. And it's just like dedicating hours and hours and hours before partying and before all this stuff. Like this is what we put everything into,
I remember those days, man, where like you and your friends were not worried about the opposite sex or the same sex for that matter.
Right.
You weren't worried about drinking.
Right. You didn't care about going out, what
you
you
just
looked
wanted to make
like.
sure your clothes were clean enough that you could come home and not get yelled at.
Exactly,
that was
yeah.
it. That was a great time to be alive. So you went to high school with all these people. What was the high school was probably pretty small, right?
No, so that's why it's like small town, not really. Maybe like Monroe was small, right? But
there's
it's like
40,000 people there in Monroe.
Okay. Yeah, it's
I don't
like
know if
all
that's
the-
the county or just the
So
town.
there's a lot of little towns that were all built into one school district. So our school district was, I feel like everybody says this, but it's like my high school was actually modeled after a jail. It's like, but ours actually was modeled after a jail.
Do a lot of people say that? I've never heard that.
You've never heard that?
No.
I feel like I was in, I don't even know. Yeah, actually I was in
I
Arizona.
felt like I was
Yeah.
in jail in school, but
No, but I think that's what they're like, yeah, it was this, rumors are getting started. It's like, this is definitely the designer of a jail designed this school, like no windows.
but yours
like-
actually was.
Yeah, it really actually was.
That's
I think, but maybe I could be falling in the category of people I'm talking shit about.
that's really funny.
But yeah, it was a huge school. I mean, we had, I think it was like 900 people in our graduating class.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I think only about 700 something
So
graduated.
that's like
but
3,600 in the whole school.
yeah, it was a big school. For
Wow,
sure.
that's a
Yeah.
really big school.
Yeah, so like there are people that I see now that I'm like, we graduated, or like now it's our 10-year reunion, which I, again, don't want to even really mention, but I'm coming to terms with it. That are like, oh, we graduated together, we're all on the Facebook. I'm like, yeah, I also got out of there as quickly as I could, and
So did you leave there as quickly as you could because you didn't like it, or you're just ready for something new?
I mean, yeah, it wasn't that I just didn't like it. It just I knew that wasn't where I wanted to be. Right? It was there, and there are plenty of people that stay there and flourish or not flourish. Most people either moved into the city if they wanted to stay local, like Manhattan and Brooklyn, Queens. Not that far. So it was like the next step of like where work is and moving there when you're young and whatever, younger after high school and stuff. But I was just ready to get out. I kind of knew that's not where I was going to be, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm making the next moves.
In your bio, you said all of your snowboarding friends went to the same college and you didn't.
Oh, so that wasn't my snowboarding friends. Those were like my friends from
Your friends.
my girlfriends. Like I had my snowboard, my rough snowboard crew. That would be like the guys.
Yeah.
Most of them were guys, and there were some girls that I knew from the mountain, but not that went to my high school. And they were just like mountain friends. But my friends, I know people don't know. They don't know like how.
Mountain friends just makes me think they all have really burly beards and they all cut trees for a living.
Yeah, and they all they have brunkles and all that. Like you're in northern Maine, yeah. No. So like my friends from childhood, like my close friends, when we graduated high school, they all moved in together and went to Albany together. So Albany is about an hour north. pretty easy transition of like graduating high school and going to a state college, you know?
Yeah, sure.
And it just wasn't in my cards. I was like, no, I kind of want to get a little further. My parents made me go away to school somewhere better.
They wanted you to move.
My parents wanted me to move initially. Well, yeah,
that's
that
really
was like
cool.
they didn't want me to go too far. I wanted to go to Colorado, but I was like, all right, I'm 18. I guess I'll like stay local. I found Franklin Pierce. Thank God I did.
Rindge, New Hampshire.
Rindge, New Hampshire. You should have a bio up on Rindge.
I don't know if I'm allowed to. Like, at one point in time, I wasn't allowed in Rindge.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So,
I think we should touch on Sandwich Master, though.
Dude, they were just on the Food Channel again.
No.
Yeah, I just saw something about that.
Because he opened his own shop since.
Yeah, yeah.
He used to share it with a gas station, a deli, a coffee shop, all in one building that looked like a gas
That's
station.
so New Hampshire, though, where you just need one building and you can get everything there. And then the rest is just
milk, hot wings,
grilled cheese, and whatever you need.
Yeah.
But why'd you decide on Franklin Pierce?
It was close enough to a mountain. I was really snowboard driven. Like, that was what I had. That's what I thought I wanted to, like, somehow
Where'd you go, Wachusett?
Yeah, Wachusett was close, but when I first got to Franklin Pierce, I was like, all right, who do I need to talk to about getting a snowboard club or like ski club? Why isn't there a ski club? I'm confused. We can get this college education pass. It was like a bunch of different mountains, like 3 or 4 mountains for pretty cheap if you had a college.
You told the school this? They didn't know?
Well, I'm sure they did, but I'm like, how come we don't have buses going to these mountains? Right. They're like, yeah, I guess we could. So I tried to pursue that for a while, and then I'm like, they're not budging. I mean, it was just like not in what they wanted to do. So I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to find the people here that I could snowboard with. And
yeah. Franklin Pierce's MO was take as much money as they can and do as little as they actually can.
Yeah. Surprise, honestly.
Literally, our gym wasn't even in a building.
It was a bubble.
tarp.
And that was supposed to be, 6 months?
Yeah.
And it was like, this has been up for 4 years.
Yeah,
Did it pop?
Yeah, twice.
Okay.
With people inside, this thing's coming down.
Yeah.
Whatever. So when you were at Franklin Pierce, you started a company called Shred It Girl.
Oh, yeah, Shred It Girl. So that's stemming from my love of snowboarding.
Yeah, sure. Right. And for the people that weren't familiar with Shred It Girl in 2012, it was a website and a blog series kind of, and you can explain it better than I can.
Yeah.
So why don't you explain
it started out as a school project, which I don't know if it was made that clear because we got we continued it with it after college. And it started out, I was in journalism. I was like, I want to be in communication. I don't know. I just want, you never know in college, especially at Franklin Pierce. Nobody knows what they want to do. And so I started this and I'm like, this is a cool way to integrate my love for snowboarding, my love for writing, and a passion of mine is to get more girls snowboarding. I always it was just a good way to either display like what I'm doing, how I grew up snowboarding, and how I want to like have that be a future for somebody else or like younger girls who don't even know, whatever. And so we started this publication in college, and we just started, but it was definitely a school project. Like that was when blogging and the internet was like back when the internet. But really, if you think about bloggers now, they're like, I've been doing this for 8 years. When 2012, it was like that was the time to really get started.
For sure. And
websites were like, how do you build a website? Yeah. And we would be on YouTube being like, how do we build this? And we were doing it ourselves. And like, it was our school project. So I started it essentially on my own, but brought in a girl because it was part of a school project too. So this girl we'll get to that a little later. But the whole principle behind Shred It Girl was just that I wanted to get girls on snowboards, on surfboards, like on a skateboard.
And you guys were successful.
Yeah, so it was really cool. So we did that the rest of, through senior year, and then graduated, kept it going, got some sponsors, we held some events. We had coaches who'd come in and teach girls how to ride park. Like, it's not just like, oh, we're going to teach you, I'm going to give you a lesson. Like, no, it's going to be like,
you're going to be doing all these. I don't know snowboard terms.
Yeah, no, but like the whole like introducing to park riding, which I think is like a whole other realm of snowboarding. Especially, I feel like this is big right now because everyone's obsessed with the Olympics. So people are like, my little cousins are like, "You snowboard, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been snowboarding since you were like born, before you were born." But yeah, now you're all interested.
Your eyes at your little your family members.
Oh shoot! So sorry, girls. I'll still teach you.
That's very funny.
But it's big now, I feel like, because of the Olympics.
That's really, really cool. And like the thing, so I did a lot of research on it, or a fair amount of not as much as I did on Monroe, but you were 18 and you had like 8 people working under you. That's a weird, I don't know, that's weird to me, just because like you're a kid and these other people are just taking your word for it. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't even think of it like that.
You're just a lion, man.
It was just,
you
like,
just
it
know how
just
to
came.
direct.
I knew what had to be done. I knew that, in order to take it to the next level, we had to hire people. We had to work with people. There was a point where we knew, and I knew that I couldn't do it all. Like when we wanted to have events, and I think it started when he had a association with the women's Olympic team, snowboarding, reached out to us, and we're like, what if we've researched this guy? Like we researched him. We're like, he's reaching out to us saying like, here's some contacts. Here's what you should do. Let's move this. Like I'll help you move this along. I'm just like,
That's
wow,
so
somebody's
cool.
taking us seriously. Like, I'm going to put everything. And it wasn't even like work for me. It wasn't like, because I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
It was like, no, I want to do this. I feel like there's a need for it.
Sure.
No interest of making money. That was never like a drive for me. And it never really did make money to add. But we had some really cool events, got a lot of good girls on snowboards actually, so it's funny. This one girl who was 10 at the time is now ranked, I think, 7, Athena. Man, I don't know.
Do
I
you
should
still
have talked
talk to
her.
these people?
Her, I do, yeah, for sure. So now I would see her in Colorado, rank in nationals. Like she's 7th in half pipe right now. So she's
didn't roll your
she's
eyes
going.
at that girl.
Oh no, I'm not rolling my eyes at you, Athena. Yeah, so it was cool to get her on a board and on riding. I saw her ride her first rail, and now she's way surpassed me. And I'm like, I don't really want to ride with you, but I'll still be patting myself on the back. Because
Why don't you go ahead?
you go. I'm gonna watch you. I'll fly to Colorado and cheer you on for sure.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so that's like one really cool story that I kind of not forgot about, but it's like Shredded Girl, I feel like is so far away now from
You've
me.
done so much.
Yeah, I've done a lot, not to toot my own horn, but
So how did Shredded Girl, what was the demise of Shredded Girl?
yeah, it was a real shame. And I should leave it at that, but I'm not gonna.
Nail it home.
A girl we went to college with, and I'm not even gonna mention her name. It's not even worth it.
Voldemort.
It's like I'm 20 years old now when this thing fell apart, and I put so much into it. I've connected with so many people. This was like my passion, and she was just kind of brought on by default. We started making some money by the events, and girls would be signing up, and we had like tens of thousands of views on our website, and we were getting a shit ton of like positive feedback from like the right people. And I think she saw it as an opportunity, and she's like, we should build this up and sell it. I'm like, yeah, maybe. I'm not even thinking that far down the road. I'm just doing this because I love it. And got to a point where the money that we did make was just, it got everything, when money gets involved, it just gets, this is real relevant right now to my life. But once money gets involved, it gets hairy. So it ended on not the best terms. There were definitely some lawyers involved, and I was 20, and I'm like,
what?
this is earth shattering. I thought this was going to be like, now I'm like, I finally found my passion, but I was 20, right? Like things that, and now what, 7 years later.
You lawyered up at 20?
Oh, we got lawyered up for sure. Yeah, it was. It was just because I'm like, no, this is not going to go down without a fight. This was what I loved, and you wronged me, so I'm gonna get you.
Who won?
I mean, it never really made it that far. I still own the trademark. You can look it up. Yeah. See, you did your homework.
Alicia Sophia with an F. What?
Yeah, they're like, people, middle initial, what's that? It's like, oh yeah, just don't bother. It's fine. So that's how it ended. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But it opened a whole lot of other doors and a lot of connections that I think brought me to where I am now. So.
Well, that's great. And then you also, in your bio, you were talking about in college, you went on a backpack trip.
Yeah.
Which you said was a huge part of your life, kind of not formed who you are by any means, but really kind of opened your eyes to that kind of style of living. So what was that like?
Yeah, I think it opened my eyes.
What was it called again?
It was called the Camino de Santiago. So there's some people, when I say it, people know about it. It's a medieval pilgrimage, and it was
mountain people to medieval.
Yeah, I
pilgrimage.
know. I'm like,
Jesus.
I'm kind of all over the place. I'm a little bit of everything, right? I feel like, but no, it was just a trip, and I'll explain kind of what it is. But it was a trip that just opened my eyes to being like I could do and be wherever I wanted to be. Like,
yeah, sure.
I knew I didn't really want to stay in Ringe, New Hampshire, but I knew that now it's like the world is so big and there's so many opportunities and there's so many good people in the world and people are everything. Like I believe, especially from this trip, just learning the connections that you make with people, even when there's a language barrier, right? Which there was a lot of. That's so valuable to have people in your life. And the Camino de Santiago was just so big for me because, well, it was a study abroad program, right? So it was the first one, though. I mean, when people think study abroad program, they think I'm going to go live in Spain for 4 months, live in a house with all American people and kind of do my thing, take classes there. It's basically like you're in America, but you're in Spain. You're so well-traveled now. It's like, it was not like that at all.
When you said it was the first one, it was the first one for the school?
It was the first one for the school. So they've done something similar.
Damn it, Franklin Pierce.
They've done something similar. They called it the walk, right? So it was a backpacking trip, but you'd take classes there. You'd stay places at for a certain amount of time and through Europe, different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was along these lines.
They had dabbled.
Yeah, they dabbled before, but this was
full on.
I loved the people who ran it. Like, they're still very, very close to me, but we were all kind of thrown into a situation where we didn't know what the fuck we were doing, for months. No one had cell phones.
How many people were in it?
Started with 14.
What did
people
you
went
have
home.
to eat someone? What did you...
I'm having flashbacks of like the first day. No water, no food, lost, 110 degrees. Like,
wow.
I mean, it got really scary.
That's unbelievable.
Sometimes, and
you guys just found your way back?
We found our way by talking to, really trying here. I mean, French is not an easy language, but luckily we were with a girl who knew a little bit of French. We went up to a random house on some like hillside in the south of France. We were lost.
Jack the Ripper lives there.
Yeah, right. We were like drinking out of their hose. Like it was really
like, these poor Americans.
Yeah, people just would not believe us, right? But we all have like $300 backpacks and like the best shoes. Like privileged but lost and don't know how to survive. And so it was just a lot of that. It was a lot of trial and error of like, okay, so now we need to stay at this hostel, but there's only 4 beds and there's 14 of us. So, all right, you guys are kind of on your own. We'll see you in 2 weeks, right? So we'd meet up every 2 weeks with the whole group. So it was a lot. It was really, really demanding in terms of like.
Wait, what do you mean you'd meet up you just split at that point?
We all split. We had to split because now we're on foot. There's no way to get to the next hostel or the next. It's not like they're hotels. We're talking like towns with sometimes only 100 people and like 1 or 2 places to sleep. And if it's full, like you have to keep walking.
Yeah.
And.
So you got to stay in the hostel?
The first night we all split up. We found 2 hostels where they would take 7 and 7. But after about 12 hours of...
And you'd meet up every 2 weeks?
Yeah, so then after that, we were like, all right, so we clearly have to like all split up.
We got to lighten our load.
Good luck, yeah. Like, good luck.
Did you have team captains? I'll take Alicia. Yeah. I'll say
No, Kate and I, so my roommate in college who I did it with, like we both signed up together. We were each other's like saving grace. We were like, all right, we're staying together through thick and thin, through bed bugs, through through food poisoning, through starvation, like through it all. There was a point where it was just probably on like nearing the end of one of the 2-week stretches, and we were just a little fed up with each other, a little fed up with life, blisters, like all of it. And one of the that's the other thing, the hostels, like some of the people that run those hostels are just so cool and so like they wanted you to be there so bad. Like sometimes it was like free. You would stay there for free, donation only. They'd cook for you. Like it was very homey.
Cool.
Yeah, it was just a really cool experience. And that's where I still connect like the people that you meet and the people that you talk to and hearing their stories is so important because I mean, I still keep in touch with some people from Germany that I met on the trail.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it's just cool, But one hostel gave us a bottle of wine, and we were like, all right. We were like, in the beginning of this trip, we're cutting off tags of our shirts to like lessen the weight on our back because we were carrying every single thing we have, any food, any water.
Yeah, right.
You know, we're walking through the desert, and it's just like you need a lot of water. You need to be prepared. So having everything that you carry on your back, that's what you need. Like those are your essentials. We had 2 pairs of underwear. We would hang them from our back when we wash them every day. Like it was just a crazy 4 months. 4 months of walking. 980 kilometers.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was the best experience of my life, though. You know, it really, really was.
Wait, what happened with the bottle of the wine?
Oh yeah, so the bottle of wine. We were like, we have to take this bottle of wine.
Right.
We legitimately, like, I took it for an hour. She took it for an hour. We could not manage to carry that bottle of wine.
Wow.
Like we cut our toothpaste or our toothbrush in half to like lighten the weight of our packs. Because we're walking for, 20 miles a day, sometimes 30, and all that weight really mattered. So we were like, the bottle of wine thing. We were like, we need this bottle of wine. So we're gonna switch every hour throughout the day.
Should have just started drinking it. Would have lessened the load.
Yeah, there was actually, so we're in Spain, and there was a fountain of wine.
What?
Legitimately a fountain of wine.
I need somebody to fact check this.
I swear. Let's. Can we get that?
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm on it. I'm just going to Google fountain of wine. But we'll go on to what about it?
So the Camino, the Camino? Or, the
fountain of wine.
Oh, the fountain of wine?
Yeah.
We sat there for a minute. It was a really good day after that. Yeah. I mean, no, just the whole trip, traveling like that, I think is really important too. Not going on a cruise or going on an all-inclusive vacation,
Oh, wow. Shit, this is real, man.
It's real, right? And people drink out of their shells.
24/7?
Yeah. We sat there for a few minutes.
People are going without water and there's a 24/7 wine fountain?
There was a point, we did a running with the bulls. I asked for 2 glasses of water and 2 glasses of wine.
Wait, you did the running of the bulls?
No, we watched it in Vienna. That was a cool place, yeah.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, and you have to remember, too, we're in backpacking clothes. Like, we're gross. Didn't wear makeup for 4 months. Like, just...
People can't even tell you're American at this point.
Dirty. Definitely look like the Appalachian Trail people are out here. It's the Pacific Crest Trail, right? And it's just how I lived for 4 months. And it was through school, but it was a very independent.
Was this, like, what year were you in school at this point?
Senior year.
Was this...
Right before I started Girl. So I did the Camino the first semester of my senior year. And then my second, so we kind of like, maybe I messed up the bio, but
I know, I
chronologically, I did the Camino first, came back, I had my second semester of senior year left, so.
So when you came back from the Camino, what, did anything change? Were you different at any point? Like, obviously you started Shredded Girl, but that seems like you'd do that with or without the Camino.
Yeah, it was kind of what I was. No, I think the Camino made me just kind of want to explore more and just I had so much more eagerness for adventure after that, right?
Sure.
And before I was like, okay, from this town, went to school, I did some, but now I'm like, I see the value of travel and the value of talking to people you don't know and of the value of just exploring and like seeing what's out there and seeing the world and experiencing it like on a real level, not like going on vacation and going out to a bar or like going and just drinking with your friends out in a city that Paris could be like New York if you aren't fully engulfing yourself in the city.
Yeah, sure.
So,
then, so in your bio it says that you didn't travel after college. In fact, you moved to Winchendon.
Okay, Westminster. Somebody's got to get up their facts.
Westminster and Winchendon are essentially the same thing.
Are they? Because I was really afraid of Winchendon.
Yeah, and they're the same town as Monroe. They're all the same.
No, I disagree. I am going to press that.
You didn't even know Monroe was home of Velveeta cheese. Like, yeah. I don't know.
I'm still not convinced. I'm going to look.
I'm all right, right now.
So Anthony is from Worcester, which is which is what, the third largest city in Massachusetts?
Second largest city in New England. Get it right, man.
Okay.
Yeah, Worcester's sweet.
It's a big city. Worcester's cool.
Yeah, there's like 100,000 people in Worcester. I know way too much about Worcester. But you were living like...
Close by.
It was like 20 minutes north. Or
Yeah, it wasn't bad. And no, it was cool though because I was living on a mountain. So back to that, I did a lot of Shredder Girl stuff there. I had a lot of good opportunities because I was like, all right, I'm going to position myself where I could kind of do what I want to do still. I just worked a lot of random part-time jobs. I was 21. I lived with my boyfriend, which...
Sorry, I just found the Velveeta cheese online. That is Monroe, New York. And I just had to throw it in her face.
Wow, that is the right Monroe.
And one last thing about this cheese thing. There was a second kind of cheese created in Monroe. And then in the Wikipedia thing, they're like, we have a festival every year for both cheeses. Although the latter of the cheeses did not make it. Like, they were so sad that second cheese didn't make it. And it kind of made me feel bad. And I also want to taste it.
I don't know. I mean, just looking at where it's at on the map, right? So we would be considered upstate. Yeah. Where we are on a map, like you're upstate, you're so far upstate it's like on the grand scheme of New York,
you're nowhere
you're
near
not upstate, but it's funny because it's like we were upstate from the city. We were definitely country compared to the city.
Yeah, right.
And it's funny because it's Orange County, New York. When people ask me, I'm like, Orange County. I live in Orange County, California now, obviously. And people just don't get it.
I bet you can't wait to say that at your 10-year reunion.
Oh, yeah. I live in Orange County.
5-year reunion, sorry.
They're like, it's going quick. Yeah. There's one Orange County got to hit, which is Florida.
Yeah, it's overrated. But your boyfriend, tell us how that kind of went for you. Because in your bio, it didn't seem like it went great.
Yeah, one sentence. We lived together for 5 years. We got engaged. I'm not ashamed to say it.
Yeah, why would you be?
It was the best thing that happened to me to end it and be like, I need a huge change now, and I'm totally equipped to handle a huge change, so I'm going to move to California in 2 weeks, actually.
But, okay, so you're living in... not Winchington.
Westminster.
You're living in Westminster.
Massachusetts, not California.
For, vastly different. For 5 years.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Almost 5, like 4.
Yeah. Okay, so your duration of college.
Yeah.
You lived with him. And so, like, how do you go from living with someone for that long? Because I feel like people do get in routines, and even if they weren't completely happy with what was going on, they're in a routine. They've been doing it for so long that, people get engaged and they end up married, and then they end up having kids, and then they get divorced when their kids go to college, and, it was all for nothing. So,
for sure. The comfort was definitely there, and I see it. I see it in my friends. I see it in people that it's just easier. It's just easier to stay with somebody sometimes, or easier to stay at a job, or easier to stay knowing you're going to get paid X amount of week with the current job you have that you hate, but you won't go out on your own because you don't know what's going to happen. Like, the fear of the unknown is so real.
Yeah.
But man, after like experiencing, I mean, I'm not like so old and wise now, but experiencing a lot of things that like I've tried at, failed at, just like different avenues in my life, it's like the change is always worth it. The try is always worth it because for me, at least, I guess we need the people that want to work 9 to 5, right?
Yeah.
We need the people that are cool with the comfort of staying home.
John Smith in the cubicle.
Right.
Love
and living
you for it, buddy.
with, I wanted to be that girl that was cool with living in this town and working at the mountain and working in marketing and maybe doing a little bit of Shredder Girl, what I love. But it just wasn't me. Like I couldn't allow myself.
What was your last straw?
Just settling. I couldn't settle.
So you
in the relationship, in the jobs that I was at, like I swear I'm more fearful of fearful of a 9 to 5 desk job than like dying alone, like being burned alive.
Everybody gives dying alone a bad rap. It seems all right.
I am a for sure promoter of dying alone. You'll be able to do a lot of cool shit. Like, I'll tell you that. If you just do your own thing, you get to do a lot of cool shit.
Yeah.
People look at me and ask me, they're like, how do you do it? It's like, and oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky. I work from home now. Always my dream. I could work from a train station, from a plane, from a tent if I'm traveling across the country, from Europe, you know, on a beach in Croatia. Like, I can work. I'm not lucky though. Like I fucking gave up a lot of stuff. I gave up comfort. I gave up that relationship that, it would have been smart to stay in. He was an engineer. It would have been smart to stay there. I would have probably had kids by now, you know?
That would be a weird Alicia.
I know.
Ugh. I just cringed a little bit. But so you break up with Brendan, was
Brendan,
that
whoa.
What?
Someone creeped on the Facebook, I think. Should I go creep on my
we were
own?
friends.
Yeah, that's true.
Point,
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I went back to 2013. Like, what was Alicia doing?
That's true. Good guy, just not for me, you know?
Yeah, or me.
I haven't talked to him though. Hey, I hope you're well. Maybe he's listening. I don't know.
That's really funny.
Should I send it to him? Be like,
just in case you were wondering what I was up to, you can send it to him and the people going to the 10-year reunion.
Right,
they're on the same pedestal.
They're all on the same. Yeah, they are. And that's okay. And that's totally okay.
I think a lot of people don't like the idea of leaving people behind. And
that too.
I think if you want to live a life where you want to be able to do whatever you want, you have to be able to do that. Because if you don't leave people behind, you're never gonna go. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta go.
You gotta get on your own elevator.
You gotta pack up your Jeep and move to Huntington, California, which is exactly what you did, right?
Yes, I did. So I moved out of Massachusetts, packed my Jeep from Massachusetts, packed everything I could, you know, and we were all cordial about it. Like both parties, we were like, cool, you know.
He wasn't.
It was not
porch,
like that at all. It was not like I'm like playing it all cool. Like I have the coolest. No, it wasn't. It wasn't obviously the smoothest, but I moved out in my Jeep and just packed what I could. Left and went back to New York at my parents' house. I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do now? You know, I left my job. My job actually, which was huge for me. I mean, this is something that I'm like, I did luck out in this sense because this did give me the freedom to move where I wanted to move because I had this job still. Mm-hmm. They were like, we don't want you to leave. We'll set you, we understand you're leaving the office, but we'll set you up working remotely. And I was like, what? So you're still going to pay me? And I'm in like all sorts of a weird place because I'm like, shit, I just broke up with my ex-fiance. Yeah, gave the ring back. Like it was it was a whole ordeal. And the fact
was it tough giving the ring back?
No. Things I don't care about. Yeah. I never dreamt of a wedding. I didn't have a Pinterest board with fucking wedding venues or dresses or it just wasn't who I was. What I always wanted was to do my own thing and create something and just do what I love every single day. You know? And that was just like still what drives me. You know, I'm not saying I'm there, but in the right. I'm on a road right now that I'm getting to a good place. Like I'm making steps every day, you know. So
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, moving was weird. Moved in back, not even really moved in back. Oh my God, moved back in with my parents. But I was like, all right, all my stuff's parked outside of your house. Thank you. I'm gonna sleep here until I figure it out. I'm gonna move to California for a year. Never been there, but I'm gonna do it.
How quickly did you come to that decision?
Within a month of moving back. So I moved back in May. Right. Yeah. And I moved out to California in June.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so your company that you were working for named?
Bossmark at the time.
Yeah.
They sold since. But yeah, they were like, you're going to move to California. I'm like, yeah, I'll work East Coast time. It's totally fine. Like I'm positioning right? I'm like.
So bold.
It's all about how you approach the situation with people though. You know, I'm like, I will fly back here.
So you're getting up at 5 a.m. every day.
Oh, yeah.
So you're presentable for Skype interviews.
Exactly. And this was when I was with a company that I'm like, I had to. Like, I was a little stressed because I'm like, you know, this is my income. This is like all I have.
Right.
So I was like, but it made me learn how to work from home. Yeah. Like working remotely is not easy. People don't, well, I guess people would realize like, what do you do with all the distractions? And like, don't you want to just eat all day? Don't you want to like just hang out, watch TV? I'm like, yeah, it takes time to learn how to be efficient. And but I fucking work. Like I work. Sorry, can you curse?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Who's going to get mad at me on here?
You just looked like a 10-year-old. Like she covered her mouth and slouched down. Like that was awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't remember what I was talking about.
You were talking about how to work from home.
Oh yeah. So we're just working from home it takes time to get good at it, and that was my whole thing behind creating the virtual hustle because everyone wants to work from home. Not everyone. I get that not everyone does, but a lot of people want to have the freedom. And with the internet, there is so much freedom to do whatever you want.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to build a community of people to kind of bounce ideas off what works for you working from home, and like where do you go working from? Like, what's your life like working from home?
Yeah, right.
But when I first moved out to California, I was like, I gotta just be the best employee I can.
So you drove out here by yourself with somebody else?
No, so I drove out with a girl I snowboarded with once. I met her at a snowboard demo, a Burton demo. Met her once. She randomly called me the week before I was planning on moving.
Okay.
And she was like, hey, are you like doing anything this summer? I'm kind of looking for like, I don't know, like a trip or something. I'm like, I'm actually moving to California. I'm driving to California in a stick shift Jeep. If you know how to drive a Jeep, I want you to come. Or if you know how to drive a stick shift, I want you to come. She's like,
and a Jeep, it's a different drive.
Right. Yeah, true. I'm like, if you want to come, I think you should come. I think it would be a really fun trip. It's going to be...
Did she immediately learn?
No, she already knew. She's right. She's cool. She's one of my best friends now. She's like a sister
cool.
to me.
She knows how to learn.
I didn't... Yeah, no, she's cool with that. Well, she does like motocross and like she's so intense. I mean, I knew nothing about her when we drove across, but you're in the car with somebody for that amount of time and you're sleeping in like tents in the side of a lake in Utah. It's like we learned a lot about each other. And she turned out to be one of my best friends. And she stayed in Huntington with me when we arrived there after the trip, which was awesome. Like the road trip from New York to California was just so much fun. You know, it was her idea. She's like, we should just drive straight to Colorado. Our first stop was Colorado. I'm like, yeah, but don't you think we should like stop? She's like, no, let's just drive. I'm literally putting myself driving through fucking Ohio and she's asleep. And I'm like, I wanted to stop and this girl's asleep right now. Of course. We drove straight through 4 hours, I think, to Colorado. Yeah. And then the event, like all the good shit started happening after that. Because then we went up to Jackson, Wyoming, where she lived for a little bit. Like she's very much like me, where she was kind of all over the place and had connections everywhere too. And we stayed with some of her friends in Jackson, camped out, spent some time in Utah.
Did you guys board at all?
No, because it was the summer. So not in Jackson. We did a lot of hiking. That was beautiful. That's why I got to go back to Jackson Hole. But in the winter, right, to snowboard. But no, it was cool just doing the trip that we did, the road trip. We went to Reno, which, man, I don't even know if I should talk about Reno.
I feel like people sleep on Reno.
Yeah.
What'd you do in Reno?
I mean,
why'd you bring it up?
I know. I feel like I shouldn't bring up Reno. All the things I'm thinking. It was just a wild time. She was under 21.
Yeah. Sure.
And it was just I didn't even know that. I think that was the funniest part. We're like, all right. I'm like, all right, let's just go. She's like, yeah. Do you think my fake would work? I'm like, you're not 21.
And how old were you?
24.
I'm
like, I just spent the last 8 days with you, and I didn't know how old you were. I don't know. It's just,
wow.
Whatever.
That's
But she's just a real cool girl, Kate.
Yeah.
She's been back to Huntington. She's like, I gotta get those fish tacos. So we finally made it to Huntington. She helped me unpack. She missed a few of her flights, kept delaying her trip back home. Stayed in Huntington with me for a little bit while I got settled in, and we just explored the shit out of Huntington and Orange County and San Diego, and we went everywhere because I was like, and she's very much like me, where we were like, we got to see California. Like, this is awesome, right?
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, I live here? I can't believe I live here. It was too good to be true. Really, the whole time I was there, it felt like too good to be true. I woke up at 4 o'clock, worked 4:30 to 1, and then I had the rest, 1 to the rest of the day to just drink a lot.
How long did it take you to find a place?
Oh, no, I had a place immediately before I even moved in. Like, before I moved out to California, I found a roommate online.
Yeah.
And up until recently, I would say it was the best decision I've ever made.
And I was thinking about this because when I first moved here and I went down to Huntington and you were like, yeah, I found my roommate online. I was like, wow, people online are usually crazy. And then I met your roommate and I mean, she was crazy, but I didn't think she was psychotic.
Right.
And now it's a little different.
It's a little different in the more recent hours.
But so you find yourself living in Huntington. Your friend leaves. You are alone. You don't know anyone. You're working remotely. It's not like you can make friends at work.
Right.
How did you?
That was the hardest
How did
part.
you submerge yourself into the community so you didn't ostracize yourself?
Yeah. So I think that's a huge thing too, right? So especially it's way easier and way more comfortable to stay home, watch fucking Netflix for hours, work from home, make your money, whatever, do whatever you got to do, and not meet anybody. Super easy to do that. But
Yeah,
I'm like,
sure.
number
I
one, that's
love
just
that.
not me. That was just never going to be me. Like, I'm very much like out and want to meet people and go out and, you know, just meet people and do things. So I'm like, all right, I got a job as a hostess at a bar on Main Street. Oh, we can all guess what that bar was. Sharky's, the most touristy bar in Huntington, Main Street.
And if you've never been to California, anytime there's a main street in a town, that is where like the pier and the bars, and like that's a very populated area.
Right.
But Sharky's is the second most disgusting place I've ever been in my whole entire life, only to the smoking section at Fenway Park. That is the most disgusting place I've ever been. Sharky's is number 2.
Wow.
And only because, like, I remember when you brought me there, we were drinking and there was just a dude passed out next to me, just like
4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, just like drooling on the bar, and it was just
And everyone's like walking over him like it's nothing
I'm
to
patting
see
him
here.
on the back, like
Business as usual.
yeah, like a weekend at Bernie's type scenario, just pretending he's
Like,
alive.
oh, but Anthony, you gotta come. They give us free
It was a lot of
drinks.
fun.
It was a cool place to work, and I met some of my friends that I have friends still now that we are like, we met at Sharky's. I can't even believe it, but it's like, it was I had no idea, but I was like, I don't know, no one's judging me here. Nobody fucking knows me. I'm gonna work here. I'm gonna meet as many people as I can. Met a lot of gross people for sure. People from like the IE come out on Thursdays. And meanwhile, I'd be working there until like 2 a.m. I'd be up at 5:30, like working my real job, right?
Yeah, right.
So it got to a point where I'm like, all right, I probably shouldn't do this anymore, but I kind of need the money, kind of need to get out. Met some people. I got out it was good when I got out when I did, but.
And so you got out of that. You have friends. You're working. When did you start Virtual Hustle?
Okay.
And if you want to explain what that is a
Yeah.
little bit.
So basically, it kind of, I'm not going to say it like fell in my lap because it definitely didn't. I was always like strategically working toward my end goal of being free, like having freedom to work, be self-efficient and working from home and making enough money so I can support myself, have a good place, have things that I want, right? Because it's like, yeah, people could be working on their side hustle, but they need to be they have their 9 to 5 to pay the bills. We all have to pay the bills, right? So I'm like, all right.
Most of us, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on your situation, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, it just started I was working from home when I first moved out here, and then the company that I was working for sold, and I was like, shit, what am I going to do? And even at that point, I kind of knew, like, some people, they would be like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I got to do this. I got to go on unemployment. It's like, that was never even a
thought.
Yeah, and it was never like like, that's the thing. I don't think of like change like that. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm going to stress out about it. Because it's always going to be fine. Like, it's going to be fine if you just put your head down and think about the situation and what you want to change, and you just start making steps to do it.
I think that's a huge piece of knowledge that not enough people realize. It's like, at least once a year you think, how the hell am I going to get through this?
For sure. And
you
some people
always
cave
do.
And they're like, what do I do? Like, people come, I'm not saying I'm like this wealth of wisdom, but people come to me, a select few girls that are like, I just don't know what to do. Like, I'm stuck in this relationship. I'm stuck in this. And I see that you've done this before. Because I'm pretty open about my, like, trials that I've had. And, like, I guess you could call them problems. I'm not even going to call them problems. I'm going to call them, like, obstacles of, like, getting to where you need to be.
Yeah, sure.
And it's almost nice to coach people through, like, all right, here's what you're going to do.
You're going to get a snowboard.
Yeah, no, I know, right? No, it's like, what's your end goal? Like, what do you want? Because I know you don't want to be working as a bartender. I'm going to use this one example. I know you don't want to be working as a bartender. I know you feel like you don't think you want to be with the guy that you're living with. You have zero money in the bank. Like, so what are you going to do? It's not a problem. I look at this as an opportunity. And like, it's hard to change you have to like rewire your brain to look at this as an opportunity and not as a problem. We all have fucking problems. We all have shit that gets handed to us. It's how you, I'm totally like Gary V. Do you know Gary? It's how you, go about those problems. But it's so true. Maybe like listening to people who have gone through shit. I mean, speaking from experience in the past few months, my life has not been easy at all.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you got to focus on the positive and focus on what you want. And small steps and what right steps you can make to get closer to that. So my whole thing with the virtual hustle, it was being able to work from home was the end goal. So I built this business around being able to get paid to work from home. Right. So I started out as an independent contractor, right? So it wasn't like I started a business, but it was myself was the business. You
are the business.
I am the business. Yeah.
I am the machine.
I am the business. Yeah. Like without me, obviously it wouldn't be alive. But it was just, my work is to grow other businesses. And that's what I love. I love marketing. I love being creative. I love having nobody breathing down my neck, like me coming up with the ideas of like a marketing strategy or how to grow their businesses. And when their businesses do grow, when they do see that increase of now that I've been working with, so I work with 11 businesses, when I do see like the upward in sales or in publicity or followers or whatever I'm focusing on for each of those clients, like that feels so good.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't feel like work. It's what I like to do.
Right.
It's like, this is what I do every day. I don't think of it as work most of the time. Sometimes it sucks.
Yeah, right.
But that's why I'm like trying. So I just hired my first, well, I don't know if I can really, I'm not going to even go there yet. But my goal for this, can you take that up? My goal for the virtual hustle, there were two aspects of it. One aspect is all like on Instagram, say, hey, follow me. The virtual hustle is really for people to learn what it's like to work from home and how to get there, like steps to get there, what you do once you're there. Like I posted something about taxes. I'm like, most people probably don't care about this at all, like the new tax law. But if you're an independent contractor like I was,
matters.
It fucking matters. And this is something you actually need to know. I'm not just going to post an inspirational quote because it'll get a lot of likes. Like I'm going to post things that I think will be actually valuable.
That does matter. As a comedian, we're also independent contractors.
Totally.
No idea what to do on my taxes,
right,
man.
Exactly. And I don't really either, but now after reading this article, I'm like, word, okay, let me get an expense report. Let me...
QuickBooks?
Yeah, let me... I'm really just a lot of trial and error. But at the same time, I get overwhelmed, because there's a lot to it, because it is, like I started my own business now in December, and like I did it legit. Like I was like, LLC, like I'm going to think about having within 3 to 4 people working for me or under me, whatever, within the next year, like business bank account, like signing on clients through my business, et cetera, et cetera. This is what I want to make. This is my business plan. This is my goals, whatever. So I like really just didn't do much for a few months and just kind of focused on where I see this going. And it took a lot of like, I don't even know what I want to do with this. But now it's definitely moving in the direction I want to move. And
nice.
Yeah, like just growing other people's businesses and working remotely. That's my MO.
I have another question about your MO.
All right.
So not so long ago, you moved back to New York.
Yeah.
After you moved to Huntington Beach, also known as Paradise. So tell me, what was that process like? You have your virtual hustle was going at that point, right?
It was not, no.
No?
No. So
when...
I know, this is kind of confusing because I almost forget that I lived in New York for 8 months. 8 long, cold...
I didn't forget.
Really lonely months.
Brittany and I were pissed for 8 months. We were like... But
like we're still
Alicia,
going to brunch in Orange County. Wish you were here.
We did, but it was just full of tears and lobster.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like I lived here, moved to California, lived here for a year. It was too good to be true. I truly believed it was too good to be true.
Is that why you went back?
Yeah, and I missed my family. I did, and I'm like, I miss my family. This is too good to be true. I got to get to real life. Like, I didn't know really what I was doing. I knew what I wanted to do. Like, the virtual hustle, I wanted it to be a thing, but it wasn't there yet. It wasn't even really a... It wasn't.
So that was an idea at that
It was an
point.
idea. It's just I didn't even know how to get there. I didn't know how to make money doing that. Like, so I was just like, I got to go to New York and get a real job. Like, I got to get back to being...
A person.
Yeah, is this like, this is me thinking I have to do, because this is what our parents tell, you go to school. Like, so much has changed, though, right? So I understand that now, but I didn't at the time, and that was only 2 years ago. But so I moved back to New York, live in Astoria, Queens. It was fine. It was just, I worked a lot.
What were you doing?
Just working still, so working from home, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Like I would, I'd bill hours and like have clients and be doing my job and everything, but I would say that was maybe 30, 40 hours a week, but 30, 40, 50, 60 hours a week on like, where am I going with doing what I'm doing and how can I make this bigger than it is? So I didn't go out a lot in New York. Like people are like, you lived in New York, like nightlife. I'm like, yeah, like I did it. I'm definitely a person that goes out. Like that's what I do. So I did my fair share of New York. But I think in New York, it was really like, I can move back to California and still have this mindset and still pursue what I want to do with the virtual hustle and with the remote working life and how to grow it. And I could do that all from a cool apartment in California on the beach. I don't have to live in this scary place.
I don't have to be trapped like a rat to do this.
Yeah. And it was,
I've said it once, I say it again.
Different.
Can't stay in New York for more than 4 days.
Yeah. It's
like Vegas to me.
Wonderful place to visit.
Can't do it.
Some people could live there. Some people cannot. I cannot, I just could not do it. It was 8 months. It was great to be close to my friends. It was great to be close to my family. But after 8 months, I was like, you know what? I think I can move back to California. I came to visit actually over the summer, and I stayed for 2 weeks. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to stay for 2 weeks. I stayed with my friend Casey and Danny, and I was like, this is amazing. I love it and miss it here so much. I feel like I just still live here.
Yeah.
I'm like, I should just stay. But I'm like, I got to get my stuff. I should actually move back.
Yeah.
And my apartment opened up again, the same apartment I lived in. And it was just an easy transition to move back. Made a planned to move back with one of my best friends from home. And that fell through. But I still moved. I was like, I'm still going. This is a plan of mine. And it's kind of, once I get my mindset on something, especially something like that, I'm like, no, I'm definitely not like a planner, but if I set my mind to something, I'm like, I'm doing it, and there's literally nothing that can stop me from doing it. So I moved, but I flew this time.
Yeah.
Shipped my furniture. I had a little bit more money this time around.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a car, so that kind of sucked. So I had to get a new car, which is great because I got a new Jeep Wrangler.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was a great day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you helped me with that. Oh, so Anthony was oh, man, I totally forgot about that. Wow. See,
I didn't, but that's...
Wow, right. I feel like the biggest piece of shit.
No, dude. That's the thing about car salesmen. They're very forgettable.
Yeah. It's like, were you there?
But that was a weird experience because, we're in Huntington, which is, a very nice town to live in, and then the car salesman that was talking to us had finger tattoos, and it was just
his name was Brianna.
Yeah.
What was his name?
I think I still have his card. But yeah, so you moved back, and since you've been back, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling like I am never sure about anything, and I'm feeling like this was one thing I am so sure about, and that feeling is really good because I'm so all over the place. In terms of, I guess not business, I know in the realm of what I want to do, but for a while I wasn't sure what exactly I was doing or is this the right move or is this not the right move? Should I move to Queens? Should I do this? Should I work here? Should I, whatever. I'm always I'm open to a lot of things. I guess that's part of the problem, not a problem, but
not a problem at all.
That's part of the, just unknown. I'm cool with trying things out. If it doesn't work, okay, move on to something else. But something I was so sure about was living in Huntington Beach, California. It just felt so right, and it still feels so right. I love it there.
For sure.
I love it there so much. I can't wait to have offices in Huntington Beach, California. I will.
Me too. I can't wait till you do that so we can go to lunch at Sharky's.
Yeah, that'll be the first place. Definitely.
So that's awesome, man. That was such a great story. This was awesome.
Cool.
I ask every one of my guests if you had advice for people doing what you're trying to do, not just working from home, but that as well. But you did take these major steps where you broke off an engagement and came to California. You left California to go back to New York for 8 months. You know what I mean? You definitely have stuck your neck out there. What is your advice to these people that, might be just too afraid or stuck in a situation? What's your advice?
I would say my advice is don't think of things as problems and think of hard times as opportunities. And that's so easy to say. I'm sure there are tons of people. I don't know how many really people you have listening to this, but I'm sure there are people that are going to be like,
hey, we have listeners.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, you guys might all be rolling your eyes being like, it's so fucking easy for you to sit here and say, yeah, this day and this month sucks. You have all this shit happening. You can't pay your bills. Yeah, think of it as an opportunity. But actually because that's when real change happens. And just don't settle for something that doesn't like totally light you on fire, that doesn't like burn in your soul of like what you need to be doing. Just don't settle for it. And I would just keep opportunities open. And my real advice, be nice to people. Be good. Be a good human.
Yeah.
That's my main advice.
Don't be a pushover.
Don't be a pushover, but be a good human. Be proud of who you are.
Yeah.
And take opportunities. Those are my
I'm proud of who you are, Alicia.
Thanks, man.
Thanks again for coming in. This was great.
Thanks so much,
Let's
Anthony.
go get food. I'm thirsty.
I'm thirsty.
Today's musical guest is Anthony Dante. His EP Mountain Songs just dropped on iTunes about 2 weeks ago. Today's song is called Out of My Skin. Thanks again for listening, guys. We'll see you next time.
Andy, help me, would you please? Gotten drunk again, think I lost my keys. While you're at it, find my mind. Left it with a failed love, lost in another time. Shouldn't even worry about my heart. Guess it's just no sense talking where to start. Talking where to start. Been too long since I've been home, and they take my hand, point me to the door. Mama didn't even recognize my face. Say you should be ashamed. How long you been away from this place? Shower, sleep, unpack my car. Too tired and worn out, I don't know where to start. On the road it seems again. Jump from smile to tears, got me out of my skin. My heart gon' break down on me too. Can't forgive me for all the miles I pulled it through. Miles I pulled it through. Miles I pulled it through for you, it's true. Mr. Selfish, Mr. Clean. Oh, it's running matinee. Which one do you see? Can't keep living in my head. Oh, these thoughts will weigh you down. The true living there. Kicked the past right off my back. Too tired and worn out from cleaning up my trash. Try to get to know myself again. Jump from smile to tears, got me out of my skin. My hands gonna break down on me too. Can't forgive me for all the songs I played for you. Songs I played for you. Songs I played for you, you know it's true.